Okay, so I'm mostly recording this for posterity's sake, because this is an interesting situation that I just ran into today. So, in the field work I've been doing, it's been basically through here. And so what I am basically looking at is a couple work order conflicts. So if I go back to over here, so on this platform, you've got, if any of you haven't worked with it, you've got what are called routed work orders. They're basically work orders that, like, you meet a certain criteria, or the client has directly assigned that to you, and so it shows up in this list. And it's basically like going up to a bookshelf of work and being like, well, I want this one, and you automatically get it. Versus having the available ones, which are there, and so you put in, you request, and you hope to get the work order that is listed. And you can see how many people have requested. You can also see the number of people that this has been routed to here. Now, once you get it assigned to you, or you accept the request or the routed work order, it shows up here. I'm dealing with this one right now. Now, if you were looking at the previous work order I was looking at, you'll notice that the ticket number is the exact same, but the payment terms are slightly different. So the rate is like $90 for the first 2 hours, and then $40 an hour on top of that if I go above it. I can scroll down and go further, but I'm basically sitting here on hold on this work order that was supposed to happen at like 12 o'clock noon. You can see up here, I'm an hour and a half past that. If I go back to the other work order that is set up, you can see that, again, same exact ticket number. If I were to scroll down through the details of the scope of work, all of this is basically the exact same as the other for the list of materials, minus the fact that there are extra, like, details for, like, contact information of, like, who to talk to check in, check out, and things like that. But you can see that it's a maximum of 2 hours at $35 an hour. So I'm sitting here in a situation where, and if you saw the breakdown over here, you would see that there were certain, like, platform fees and what have you on top of it. And if you can do the math real quick, you'd know, like, they're getting, like, at $70 maximum, you're getting, like, $9 whatever off the top of it that you basically get for your business. So you're sitting there, in essence, doing nothing to get, like, $9 and something cents. The problem with a lot of this tech work is a lot of it is outsourced to different companies, and that creates a problem of, like, middlemen. I've been on a few of these jobs. If I go back to the work over here, if it'll load up, in that when I go through the completed ones, there are a lot of these where there's, like, a bunch of middlemen involved in it. So, like, Cloud Cover has a little bit of that, where I've seen, like, the direct middleman where I could see into the layers a little bit. The Implement Advanced Payment Technology ones are ones where I've really been able to see the middleman layers, and I've actually been able to come around and, in essence, bypass some of the layers, and you start to realize how much more is being paid out. And it's kind of scummy, because what ends up happening a lot of times is someone's getting screwed. So the reason why your surcharges for IT services cost so much is because you're going through, like, 4 layers of middleman. Like, like, the last couple of days I was on a job where there were, like, 3 different middlemen, and I don't know how they were configured, if there were offshoots over here and over there, but it was ridiculous how many different middlemen there were involved in this work. And I was the guy at the bottom that had to, like, fix every futz up around, because somebody didn't communicate everything. But it was a good paying one. So it was installing cameras, no less, too. But again, this is mostly for posterity. Depending on how this goes, I may update and post this video. But right now, I'm sitting here waiting on them to finally assign or release this one from the hold, and I'm starting to think that like that hold isn't going to be released until after 2:00 sometime today, because they're waiting on this cheaper one to come through rather than actually have the client schedule with, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay, so update on this one. I spent about most of yesterday trying to wait on them to give me like a good bit of communication on what was going on. And I basically got nothing back out of it for the most part. I mean, you can see in the logs here that like I acknowledge like, hey, I've got everything I need. I've got all the tools. Like they require more tools for switching out a mere payment pin pad than is needed. And then you can see that it was canceled based on site rescheduled, but they let it sit here for long enough to where they didn't have to pay the cancellation fee. And that would have basically, I think, been a payment to me that has been waived because, it took so long. Yeah, so I was sitting here waiting for it for quite a while. And if I go back to my emails here, you can see that this morning at 8:32 a.m., a new work order shows up. I can go to routed, and that means that I could basically accept it and go. And that's at 8:37. It's the same exact thing. Like, they could have rescheduled on that one work order. I know it's possible inside of Field Nation, but they didn't. So we can go here and we can see that it's been canceled by the buyer. We're sorry for the inconvenience. If you have any questions, please get in touch with the work order manager listed on the work order. And then we can see that it was site rescheduled as noted in the message log. Okay. This new work order that was set up was basically, I don't know, it might have been taken by someone else, or it might have been that one that I showed the comparison of yesterday. I have a full show of both work orders, comparing them on my phone, and I will sneak that in. Okay, so there are a couple other numbers in here that, yeah. But for the most part, so this is for whatever reason, there are a lot of companies on Field Nation that like to use WhatsApp. And so you've got a couple of them here. Like this was, I believe, one of the contact numbers I was given in the work order that I was trying to double check on, and I got nothing back from them. Here's another one. This one is completely outside of the a number that was not listed in the work order, but they had the work order number listed here. And then I send the video of the comparison of the work orders right there. And then he just responds to this first one and talking about the scheduling. This hold was on the scheduling basically right about when I had to leave in order to be there on time according to the work order specifications. And then I tried to get like, hey, can you tell me about that other work order on the list of work orders? And nothing. So if we go to this one right here, this is another one. Okay. This one, I don't think this number was listed in the work order numbers either. If we go, let's look at the bottom here. Actually, no, it was, yeah, right there. Because disappearing messages was turned off. And yeah, this was another one. Was that one? Yeah, I think that... No, it's, again, one that isn't listed. So when they message me first, I don't get it. They don't show up here. I don't want desktop notifications. And then any updates on the hold. Also, I saw this in the pop-up on Field Nation. We're waiting for the client's response. We'll keep you updated on the date and time. Sorry for the inconvenience. Again, like nothing here. This message that was deleted was about, it still showed up in my notifications on my phone. So this was about, hey, can you show up at 11? And this was sent, if we look carefully, this was sent about 2 hours before, the work order would have gone out. The time zones are kind of messed up. So it was what? Yeah, 10 minutes to 9 is when they sent this, my time. And then it was deleted. Why did you need to delete this? Okay. And then I'm like, hey, can we make it 12 p.m.? And it's like, it's an hour later. I think he said 10 p.m., 10 a.m. And then I'm like, hey, 12 p.m., that's 2 hours later. Yeah. Let us check with the client. Client will provide the new schedule for next week. Maybe we'll keep you updated. Now, I showed up on site because I'm literally 15 minutes away from the site. And I went, I'm like, it's a convenience store, okay? And it's like, okay, they already had it installed. Meaning I got screwed out of a job and pay for stressing for half a day that I was honestly going to chill for. And yeah, so I was sitting here stressing, waiting on them to get back to me. They didn't get back to me. And then they undercut me like this because I didn't respond to them within like their 2-minute time ratio. So if we go, actually, so we look at, yeah, the time that it was canceled. Yeah, probably within a half hour. But they had the other work order set up for 11 o'clock before I was messaged about going back. And so they could have released a hold on it and I could have gone. But they had to cancel the work order and then get someone else to do it. Okay? So now, now they've waived the fee because they had the hold on it for so long. And they said, hey, the site rescheduled, so we've got to cancel, blah, 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 blah. Okay. This would be fine and dandy, except for the fact that when we go into the reviews on this is a habit that they seem to have a habit of doing this. So they micromanage you. They are from overseas. They are not US based, which is a huge problem on this platform, is the fact that there are a lot of companies that are either not local or are completely overseas, and you are basically being managed by them. I've been on a couple other jobs where ended up cutting out some of the overseas middle management or middleman because I was just more effective at what I did, and they didn't need to schedule through some other third party to get my time. And I got my pay doubled because of that, okay? For the same job, I got double paid. So, for example, I could go to 5 different sites before, cutting out the middleman, and I'd get like $330 at the end of it. But now I go to 2 sites and I get $300 out of it. Or like when you consider like bank transfer fees of doing it quicker, $291 for 2 sites versus 5, which is insane to me. Okay, how much the middleman cuts into it and how much time they waste. And that's the thing too, is when I went and talked to one of the employees at that convenience store, she was just like not happy with it either, because if we go back to the photo here, it's still not working. It's still not in working order. They still have to like sit there and wait for it. But this used to be an empty pedestal right here. So now I've not only got this work order that I showed you guys that was undercutting me, I've got this to deal with, like that undercut me now as well. So let's see. While I did have a good experience with the help agent, unfortunately, I cannot say the same for the work order management. This is, again, a problem. This is Gaichu managed systems. And let's see, unprofessional team lack of communication. They will cancel on you without any notice. Communication was non-existent. Right here, I drove 229 miles. They canceled the work order and refused to pay me anything. They should be removed. So, first of all, I do not drive that far when I'm going for work orders. I will only take something that's like closer to 100 miles if the pay is good enough for it to justify it, or if they're willing to give me travel, which about half the time I will usually stick within a certain mileage to where I'm like, okay, what vehicle am I taking? Does this justify it enough to where I don't have to do a counter offer and still get paid well in spite of the mileage that I'm going and the gas that I'm paying for and things like that? So that's just a business decision on my part, because getting screwed over like this by a company like this, no, I want to avoid that as much as possible. The nice thing is that with this particular work order, I'm only about 15 miles away. So if I get screwed over like that, I'm not at a total loss. But the fact that it worked out the way it did is just, yeah, very unorganized, very unprofessional. Again, we are using WhatsApp for everything for communication-wise. And there are 3 different lanes of communication that I'm going through. I'm both going through Field Nation messages. I've got someone, I believe, texting and calling me. And then I've got someone trying to contact me through WhatsApp on top of that as well. So they don't pick just one line of communication. They use all of them, and they don't document very well between each of them. So had me buy $60 worth of cords just to delay the job, then cancel it outright the day of the job. Most unprofessional liars I've ever dealt with, they've tried to not pay me due to a site cancellation that was their fault after I spent an hour and a half on site. Again, these guys are a middleman, and it seems like they are a middleman that's willing to screw you over just to get the money that their quote money. Okay, this is like the middleman business is the worst part of this field at this point, from what I can tell. Canceled 2 work orders on me with a single message on each saying not responding when I don't have a single missed call or email from them or any other message on the platform. Work order listed micro USB cable and Cisco console cable, both of which I have. Site is over a 2-hour drive away to the site. They canceled saying I didn't have a console cable claiming it was on their work order. They also declined my travel expense, which I approved the day before. I lost money from fuel expenses alone. So, again, this is the thing of I'm only going to drive 2 hours. I've done jobs where I have driven over 2 hours, but that's because, again, I wasn't dealing with the middleman, and I'd already worked with this person before, and actually this was one of those things where I'd cut out some middleman portion of it. Well, no. Yeah, I'd worked it out previously, and I'd already done work for them before, and they were actually pretty good at communicating and things like that. So after the first job, or two, I'd already, okay, these guys are pretty good. And so that's the only reason why I drove that far, is because I'd already had a relationship or rapport built such that, like, okay, I know they're going to be reliable and this, that, and the other. This is a situation where, especially on a first one, I'm not going to drive 2 hours for something, especially when it pays as low as they were paying. Because the drive time, two, in some cases when I'm telling people how much I make, I also try to work in, like, okay, if I were to include drive time into how much I got paid per hour, what does that look like? And it looks pretty good a lot of the time when I do get those work orders and jobs, and yeah, you get the idea. Customer canceled work order without a reason. Again, I believe this is a situation of they waited so long and they put it on hold long enough to where they didn't have to pay a fee, or they gave a reason that meant they didn't have to pay a fee. Let's see, canceled work order is I was en route in minutes from the work site. Never gave proper times. They have the knock scheduled at 10 and me scheduled at 8, and the local IT guy coming in at 9 makes no sense. Dozen different people from the company called me to... So the other thing too is when you look at the work order, you've got two different companies that you're interfacing with in this work order. And if you looked at the work order that I showed, I believe, in the comparison, it only showed this stuff. There wasn't this like whole deal with this person, that person, the other person. And there's none of these terms down here. So there's a lot of sketchy stuff going on with this one. Okay. And now this, again, is a canceled work order. Now, if I had a good way, Field Nation, if anyone's like from Field Nation is looking, if we could have canceled work orders listed with the work orders list so that we could go through them like we can with the declined, assigned, and things like that, just add canceled into the list of work orders so that we can actually look at them for our records, and then also add reviews onto them so that we, can prevent things like this. See, Field Nation showed Field Nation cancel fee will be charged to buyer and paid to me. Now it doesn't. Send message on work order to inquire about this. No reply. Added work to the job and canceled my ticket for the work and once completed so I wouldn't get paid for the extra work. There's like whole disputes of spending extra hours, being approved for extra hours, and not getting paid for that extra time. Canceled with less than 24 hours notice, even though I had to confirm the work order, stated no response, even though they didn't message me via Field Nation or leave a message. Apparently requires some sort of training the day before, but no mention of it in the work order. So they copy and paste the same template, it seems, which is really dumb because, like I said, if I go through the materials, so you're replacing just this thing here, or rather installing it, putting it onto the pedestal. And all you need is a screwdriver set for that. But they're like listing, you need a laptop with a charger and TeamViewer, and you need putty, you need console cables, you need rollover cables, you need patch cables, you need cage nuts. Pliers make sense, screwdrivers make sense, screws maybe, not really. Cage nuts, for sure not something like this. But they have it there anyway, and they call you. It's like, do you have all the tools listed that are required? Do you not have cage nuts for replacing a point of sale device? No? Okay, then you can't get the work order. I mean, literally, it is you don't need that in the scope of work, but we're going to bring it anyway. It's not going to affect the scope of work. In fact, some of the things here listed, it may not be everything needed for the work order. And so you're requiring these different things. You have this list of tools, but maybe you missed something because you copied and pasted your same list of tools that are not there. So yeah, I get screwed out of money. Someone else gets the job, and I don't know how that worked out. And the other work order disappeared from the list. So if I go back to the work orders, Load it up. You can see it's not here anymore, and it disappeared like probably this morning. So they may have actually given it to whatever scumbag was paying $35 an hour to do the same job, and the one sucker that got it requested it. So there is that. So somebody's making some money somewhere. Do I need this one? No. Okay. So, no, not that one. Again, this one, it's really sketchy when like you're sitting there sifting through all the negative reviews and they're like, yeah, they canceled on me, and they're like basically going through loopholes in the they're abusing the platform in order to not pay extra fees. So it's kind of dumb how they work. Again, Guide to Managed Services. If we go and look, okay. We can take this. We can search. I don't need WhatsApp anymore. We go to Guide to Managed Services. This is what their site is. And everybody you're talking to is basically, in, what is it? Where is it? They're all Indian when they talk to you. Okay. So apparently they're supposedly here. So let's see. Wow, this was a bad idea for you, buddy. They've got a bad address listed, it looks like, for their contact information. Businesswiki.info. 8 companies. Your suite number 1236. The fetch. So the property's listed as for sale, which is interesting. This. So, this is. So they've got bad business practices. They quite possibly are like using a fraudulent address. And yeah, that's not good, guys. That is not good. I don't know. That's like quick research, though. I could be wrong on that. But it's very, very sketchy with the way that works. But yeah, again, there's like a huge part of me that, you know what? If we go back to the reviews, let's, switch it around. Overall satisfaction. Great people to work with. No comment. GD. No comment. Communication, great. Company works with you as long as you communicate well. Great team. I don't know. A lot of these seem to be great working with you guys. Okay. Did not anticipate the scheduled. I think they are giving reviews on the people on site that they're working with. No need for 200-foot cable. Less than 100 feet will suffice no matter where you mount the communicator in this store. Again, they seem to... Great support team, whatever. So when you're going through and finishing up a work order, you can give them 5 stars or whatever. And things like that. Thank you, work order completed. Great team work with. Great group to work with. Would definitely like to get more assignments from them. great company, very professional, easy to work with. Look forward to working with you in the next work order. I don't know what I did that, like, I didn't get that. Professional, had clear expectations. I don't know. You have a lot of tools you don't need for various jobs. Okay. Thank you, good guys. Thank you. Great way to keep a good man happy. Yeah, needless to say, that may not always be the case, obviously. Very patient and friendly. Excellent service team. Same dude, obviously. Amazing service, cannot recommend more highly. See, what I don't know if these are like middlemen going through it and writing this down. That's the problem that I have. Please provide me feedback and give me rating. Yeah, very professional. You're giving 5 stars because you want feedback. Okay, so this one has clear expectations. Professionalism is not marked. Easy to work with, which is interesting when it's a 5-star rating. Great. There were some communication issues that resulted in an unwanted visit because of some site prep work that had to be redone by another team. The client seemed to be dissatisfied when they learned we were on site against their explicit instructions not to come in until a later date. Again, 5 stars. That's very interesting. For my own notes, PDF sign-off is sent via WhatsApp. They need to transfer from phone to laptop, print out, sign-off sheet, blah, blah, blah. See, that's the problem. If you've got paperwork and you don't have a printer to work with, that doesn't work out very well. So, like, if you get a last-minute one and you have a PDF sign-off, it doesn't work. Communication and scheduling were not up to par. Had an order on hold for 15 days and tried to contact them multiple times. No response until I pressed on an email address in the order. Legit, like, you can see some of the same problems coming through here that people bring up. Blah, blah, blah. Even in the 5-star ratings, which is very interesting, like I said. Okay, let's go back to the reverse. Field Nation, can we improve this so that I can just go through like everything really quick like without thinking about it, please? Just kind of make this experience a lot nicer so that I'm not having to like sift through crap like this. Okay, so we get in. You figure that the company could get a hold of another company they're directly working with, but evidently not. But one company released me and said I was good, didn't have to call anyone else. Come to find out I was supposed to call someone else. Again, this is the communication thing. You've got multiple different middlemen working in this situation, and that's where we get the problem running into. And this is a problem in general, it seems, with the field tech area, is you've got a lot of middlemen. So it's a man in the middle of the man in the middle of the man in the middle of a man in the middle thing going on, which creates a lot of friction. So you get a field tech that comes out and he's dealing with like 3 different middlemen, which I've dealt with in a situation like this. So between the field tech and the people that are actually on site at the location, you've got 3 other middlemen that you're trying to figure things out with, when the communication between the field tech and people that are on site could be much better and the needs could be much more directly met. But sometimes some of these companies require you to only communicate through them rather than the people that are on site. It's like, hey, I don't want to get in your way, tell me what's going on, and it would smooth things out a lot nicer. But no, we can't have that, apparently. Please, the next time, if you're going to cancel a work order, pick up the phone and call the technician who has already started travel. I do not look at my phone for emails while I am driving. That is dangerous, blah, blah, blah. I didn't speak to anyone over the phone in this company or through text via WhatsApp. I spoke to the shopper or track support team to complete and troubleshoot the entire work order. Company is very slow to approve payment. And yeah, slow payer, offshore support, very out of touch. This is the other thing that I've run into too, is like, even if they're not offshore or out of country, there are a lot of IT management companies that are from out of state and don't understand the fluctuations of weather and things like that in the state. And so when I say something like, hey, we need to give time for the weather to clear up so that everything can be properly taken care of, when the next day I see a work order for the same exact site pop up, that's bad. And especially when I've talked with the manager on site, and he said, like, yeah, they came in and installed the conduit, 5 months ago, and they haven't really done anything with it since. And then I see in the new work order for someone else to go out there, it's like, we recently installed. It's like 6 months as recently? That's a lot of weather that's been able to get into there. How long have you been, like, dragging your feet to finish up this fiber line? So, needless to say, we need to, like, this whole middleman thing, like, really needs to stop. And we need to, like, the bureaucracy thing that gets in the way of, like, just getting crap done is just really bad. Again, if anyone at Field Nation has anything about this, we got to figure this thing out. Like, this kind of thing just does not work. I know, but they've got, like, 5-star rating. But the fact of the matter is that when someone can get screwed over and they manipulate the platform to avoid cancellation fees, that's not cool. And when they waste people's time and don't communicate, because if I, like, legit, they would not address anything with the duplicate work order at all. They would not respond to it at all. There was no response on, like, you can see, like, after an hour that there's no response to the one where I sent a shot of the installed point of sale card reader. So, I know my OBS and everything broke today, so I was going to stream, but then I updated my kernel and everything else, and so here I am doing this because I, at this point, hate middlemen as much as I hate drop ceilings, okay? And it has only gotten in the way of doing a good job and providing a good service to an end client that could be better served by having more direct communication. I've been on jobs where, yeah, they have their, like, out-of-state service, but I'm directly talking with a person that they actually talk with about getting their services done, and I've been able to talk to the person that person and the staff on site, and I can talk about, okay, this is my assessment with the person that manages their stuff, even though they're out of state, and then I can also, like, relay certain information to the people that are there, the staff on site, and it works out decently well. Once you start adding on, like, those 2 or 3 layers of middlemen that you have to communicate through, it makes things very hard. And when I was talking to the convenience store clerk there today, he noted that, yeah, it was like just a goat rope trying to get things working, and they were just disorganized and everything. If we can provide better services, but we have to get rid of practices like this, where 5 layers of middleman pop up and just get in the way of everything. If you liked the content, if you enjoyed it, if you think I deserve it, like, comment, subscribe, leave any criticisms you have or what have you. I appreciate it. Feed that algorithm, like I said, and I will see you guys in the next one.